3, 2, 1, engine start, and liftoff of the Falcon 9 rocket carrying Eutelsat's Hotbird 13G satellite into orbit.
The SpaceX Falcon Heavy rocket, which is currently the most powerful rocket in the world, has been grounded for the past 3 years, but it is now back in operation and performing just as well as it did before. The fact that SpaceX was able to successfully deploy several satellites at an altitude of more than 36,000 kilometers above the surface of the Earth means that the United States Space Force's USSF 44 mission was a huge success and puts SpaceX in a leading position in the commercial space industry. What does this mean for Falcon Heavy? And what was the launch all about? Welcome to the Tesla News Hangout. Today, we will discuss the new SpaceX launch of the most powerful rocket in the world. So, let's get started. The launch occurred at 9:41 a.m. Eastern Standard Time at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida, which is operated by NASA. The three-core rocket was able to launch from Pad 39A successfully. It then successfully landed its two side boosters at the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. SpaceX constructed the Falcon Heavy rocket, which is now the most powerful operational rocket in the world. This was done as a step toward building a colony on Mars. The rocket, which is 230 feet tall and partially reusable, is equipped with 3 boosters, each of which is capable of producing 5 million pounds of thrust upon liftoff. What does the name Falcon Heavy mean? Elon Musk, the inventor and CEO of SpaceX, is a well-known admirer of science fiction, so the fact that he named his series of Falcon rockets after the Millennium Falcon from the Star Wars movies should not come as a surprise. The Falcon Heavy was given its name because of its ability to transport heavy payloads. However, the name Falcon 9 comes from the 9 engines used to propel the rocket's first stage. The Falcon Heavy rocket is typically designated for payloads that are either exceedingly massive or heavy, as well as payloads that are bound for locations very far away from Earth. The results of its most recent mission are top secret. We only know that it will transport many payloads for the Space Force, but nothing else about it. Are there any more rockets that are similar to it? Yes, the idea of large lift rockets has been around for quite some time. There are a number of heavy lift launchers located all around the world, including the rocket that carried the Space Shuttle into space. However, the payload that the Falcon Heavy can lift is more than twice as much as the other rockets, which is 141,000 pounds. This is what makes Falcon Heavy stand out. What is the cost of launching Falcon Heavy into space? Launch expenses have recently become more expensive. The price of launching a Falcon Heavy rocket has increased to $97 million from the previous cost of $90 million. According to the services page of SpaceX.com, price changes were implemented in March 2022, to cater for excessive levels of inflation. The Falcon Heavy rocket is only now one of a select few rockets in the world that are now functioning. It has shown that it is capable of launching satellites directly into geosynchronous orbit. More crucially, it is one of just 3 rockets in the United States that has that capacity already. As of the end of 2023, the other 2 ULA rockets, the Atlas V and the Delta IV, will no longer be available for use in United States military missions. This means that the Falcon Heavy may become the only rocket in the world capable of launching certain United States military missions, at least until the ULA Next Generation Vulcan rocket is ready to prove its worth. The incredible capabilities of humanity are on full display with the Falcon Heavy. According to a tweet from SpaceX's CEO, it has, in fact, been a very long trip. The USSF 44 launch was supposed to have occurred more than a year and a half ago. After interminable payload delays beginning in the middle of 2021, the United States Space Force mission was ultimately able to launch on November 1, 2022. The necessary components have been on hand since June of this year for SpaceX's first Falcon Heavy launch. The 3 brand new first-stage boosters had been undergoing qualification testing and were shipped to Florida in preparation for the launch early 2022. However, that launch never occurred until November. The USSF 44 payloads resulted in a gap of more than 40 months between Falcon Heavy launches, although nearly every other payload allocated to the rocket experienced its own major delays. On November 1, the Falcon Heavy lifted off without a hitch during the 9 minutes that the United States Space Force allowed SpaceX's webcast to continue. The twin-side boosters of the Falcon Heavy rocket, which were each flying for the first time, assisted the remainder of the rocket in its ascent into orbit before separating from the center core, upper stage, and cargo in order to propel themselves back toward the coast of Florida. Less than 8 minutes after launch, they touched down safely seconds apart in SpaceX's LZ-1 and LZ-2 landing zones, both of which did not have grid fins or landing legs. Falcon Heavy's intentionally expanded center core, also known as the middle booster, continued burning for another 90 seconds and only separated from the upper stage after reaching a speed of almost 4 km per second at a rate of around 1,900 miles per hour. This was a new record for SpaceX rocket booster, with these two side boosters set by Falcon Heavy. This represents the 150th successful rocket passes and the 151st overall pass. During Falcon Heavy missions, there have also been attempts to land the rocket's center booster on one of SpaceX's unmanned drone ships or in the Atlantic Ocean. However, due to the mass and orbital requirements of USSF 44's payloads, the core booster for this mission was required to forego landing and future reuse in order to dedicate the maximum amount of fuel for direct insertion into geostationary orbit approximately 22,000 miles or 35,400 kilometers above the surface of the Earth. Side boosters B-1064 and B-1065, on the other hand, will be rapidly refurbished for a future U.S. Space Force mission that SpaceX says could follow. The center core B-1066 was likely destroyed when it re-entered Earth's atmosphere, traveling at approximately 50% of orbital velocity. We don't see another mission taking place later this year unless SpaceX has secured a top-secret supplementary launch contract with the U.S. Air Force. According to United States Space Systems Command reports, the next mission for the business will be USSF 67, and it might launch as early as January 2023. It will be the second direct geosynchronous launch for SpaceX. The term geosynchronous refers to the fact that a spacecraft's orbital velocity matches the Earth's rotational velocity at that altitude. Because of this, the geosynchronous orbit is a popular destination for communication satellites and Earth observation satellites that want to observe the same region of Earth. In the normal course of events, in order to make the job of the rocket easier, the vast majority of geostationary satellites are placed into an elliptical geosynchronous or geostationary transfer orbit (GTO), and then they use their own propulsion to circularize that ellipse. However, during a direct launch to geostationary orbit, the rocket does almost all of the work after reaching the parking orbit and low Earth orbit. The upper stage must also be able to survive when it travels through both of the Earth's radiation belts. In order for Falcon Heavy to enter the geosynchronous orbit, the Merlin vacuum engine on board must be reignited and run for approximately 1 to 2 minutes. The next step, which is the deployment of the payload, may take anywhere from a few minutes to an hour to complete. Finally, in order for the upper stage of the Falcon to fulfill its obligations as a space renter, it must execute at least 1 and probably 2 more burns before arriving at its destination. Even while the Falcon 9 rocket is quite powerful, it cannot reach all 9 of the reference stations in the orbit that the Department of Defense requires its launch providers to hit. As a result, SpaceX is in a better position to compete for launch contracts with the military now that it has the Falcon Heavy. The upcoming spacecraft being developed by SpaceX and its accompanying Super Heavy rocket will be capable of traveling to all 9 orbits, despite the fact that it's probably going to be years before it reaches the stable configuration that the government requires. However, it is now in transit. According to Todd Harrison, managing director for Met-RIA Strategic Insights, this means that Falcon Heavy is likely to have a short shelf life. When SpaceX finally gets its new Super Heavies operating, it will have a proven track record of reassuring customers concerned about national security. According to Harrison, there will no longer be a requirement for the Falcon Heavy. It is a sight to behold when it launches, particularly when the side boosters returned and landed in sync, but its useful life will probably be less than 5 years, and there will probably only be a few launches during that time. Anyway, it's wonderful to learn that the FH is up and running once more. What do you think this means for companies like Blue Origin? Please leave your thoughts in the comments section below, and do not forget to subscribe to our channel Tesla News Hangout, where we talk about Elon Musk, Tesla, and SpaceX. While you're at it, hit the bell so you never miss any of our videos, as more exciting ones like this are on the way. I'll see you at the next one.